Hi, this is the Cat's Library. I will be your librarian today. This is a series where I practice drawing animals, and today I am on to Y. Almost done. This took like 2 years for some reason. I guess because I kept getting sidetracked. Today I'm going to draw a yak. I'm not sure if I'm going to find any folklore about yaks, but maybe I'll be surprised. Anyway, engage speed paint. Yaks are a type of cattle or ox. They may be more closely related to bison, with speculation that their proximity to Russia, where the land bridge used to be, is how this is possible. They're found in the Himalayan mountains in high elevation and are typically domestic animals. Yaks are specifically used for milk, cheese, butter, meat, wool, and as beasts of burden. It looks like in some countries, yak racing is common at festivals, and several other yak-related sports are tourist attractions. The English word for yak is derived from the Tibetan word for yak. Wild yaks tend to be black or dark brown, while domestic yaks can have different coloring. I don't know if this guy I'm drawing is wild or domestic. It looks pretty well cared for, whichever it is. So the male yaks have bigger horns and a more prominent lump on their backs, and also longer hair on their underbelly. So this is probably a female yak that I'm drawing? I'm not a yakologist. They are physiologically suited for high elevation by having a bigger heart and lungs than similar cattle species, and they also can't really handle any temperature above 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That's still sort of cold for you Celsius people. I think that's all I want to say for the animal facts portion. Let's move on to explaining the drawing. Now, if I were going to attempt a more cartoony version of this picture, then the background would have been super simple. But if you look closer, then there is a bunch of grass and rocks and hue variation in the dirt and moss. It was a bit harder than I expected to get it to look right with my realism practice. I started with this background, going a little crazy with the texture brushes. Then I put in a quick sketch for the yak. I was trying to get the legs to be the right positions to look stable. I also had 2 sketches this time because it's sort of a simpler shape, and I figured most of the work would be in the rendering. I did sort of use the first color blocking layer as a sketch layer so that I could tweak the silhouette to make more sense. I went back to working on the background because I found it better to get that started as soon as possible. This is like the second pass of the background layer, not the final version. I moved on to the soft shading of the yak, just some blobby shapes that I blended out. Then I took a break to finish the walk cycle animation video, and I came back and put in some hard shading layers, which included me sketching out the hair strands and then copying and displacing them. This is all on a clipping mask so that the layers wouldn't go outside of that original silhouette. Then I moved on to working on the horns, eyes, nose. I added another soft shading layer with a painting blend brush, and then I moved on to the hooves. Then I made a third pass at the background, adding more detail to the bricks and the grasses. Went back to working on the yak, and I'm not entirely sure what I was doing here, but I made the eyes smaller. I also added another shading layer since I had been working with a lightened version of the reference so that I could see what I was doing. I'm also planning to do one more pass of just details, but let's see if I found a story for the next section. Okay, so I found a story. I thought that this was a kid's story because it started out by saying that this took place somewhere the kids would grow tired if they played since it was so high up. In this kingdom, there was a king, and he had 7 sons. The sons went out on a walk and found a pretty girl with a yak. They stared at each other for a moment. The girl cleared her throat. Hi, I am a princess of a neighboring kingdom, come to find my poor lost yak. I am going now. She turned to leave. Wait, said the princess. Marry us. What, like all of you? Yep, perfectly legal in our country. Note from the Cat's Library. The website said that this was a Tibetan story, but I don't know if this takes place in Tibet, since the source says country and does not use a name. I do not know anything about the marriage practices of Tibet or whatever country in which the tale takes place. The princess blinked. The 7 princes blinked. The yak blinked. The princess shoved the yak away. Yeah, guys, that sounds great. Not like I'm already married to this yak or anything, because I'm insanely normal. We are both totally not demons. Now, there was this really weird coincidence that happened after the wedding, where 6 of the 7 brothers died, 1 a year. The youngest brother was sick, and all of the doctors in the kingdom were panicking at this point, because dang, bro, just dang. And so they decided to seek out a fortune teller to see if there was anything abnormal going on that they didn't know about. They traveled a great distance and finally found the fortune teller. He was a wise and polite-looking man who listened empathetically to their plight. So, could you cast lots or something to see what's going on here, sir? The doctors asked. The fortune teller stroked his chin. Well, this is quite the conundrum you've got here, fellas. In fact, it's so complicated that I may need to attempt to summon a vision. I'll sleep on it, so to speak. Eh? Eh, said the doctors, laughing at his joke, and then they left. The fortune teller's smile faded immediately after they were out of sight. How the heck am I supposed to find that out? Do I look like I know what I'm doing? His wife took a long drink of milk and then sat it down. Yes. Well, I don't. Help me. Well, Mr. Husband Person, lying has gotten you this far. Why stop now? You want to go back to making nose rings for yaks? And so the next morning he was like, yeah, I saw that. Everything was great. I just need some charms and things that I need to sell you, and we'll go off to do some healing. And the way the website describes what's happening says that he wore black clothes and a black hat and a book or something to read prayers and a rosary. And also the skull of a hog. I think it would be funnier if he didn't know what he was doing, but I don't know how an exorcism in Buddhism works, so maybe the hog skull is necessary. When the fortune teller and the prince's wife met each other for the first time, the wife was at her supposed last husband's bedside. She jumped. Hello, doing normal human things here, not totally eating this loser's, husband's, totally not eating my husband's soul. The fortune teller narrowed his eyes at her. Her gaze shifted momentarily, and then she met his gaze. He narrowed his eyes further, and she also narrowed her eyes back at him. Finally, he smiled. Wow, that seems legit. I need to perform an exorcism or something, so do you want to watch? Ew, gross, no. She left the room. The prince was writhing on his bed, and the fortune teller made this thing and set the skull next to it and covered both with a blanket. As soon as the princess left the room, then the prince relaxed and went to sleep. Okay, that's weird. It was around this point that the fortune teller realized that he was locked in the room. He started yelling, but no one came. Okay, I just need to get out of here before anyone gets back. I'm starting to think that lady was eating his soul. She seemed so nice! He grabbed the charms and ran upstairs to the roof, but fell and landed on the yak's back, right between its horns. The yak immediately began trying to get the man off. The fortune teller began flailing around with his charms. Help, honey, there's a guy on my back, the yak called. What am I supposed to do, fight him off? The yak's wife called back. I don't know, do something. Okay. Just don't let him know that our only weakness is being beaten with charms and also burning. At that point, the fortune teller lost his grip and was sent flying into the night. He dusted himself off and snuck back into the house with the prince and finished the ritual. The prince woke up. "Doing okay?" the fortune teller asked. Not really. I think that there are a couple of demons around here. Who are you?" "I think I'm here to help. Actually, I know I'm here to help. This is what I suggest that we do." And so they formed a plan to beat up the demons with the charms and also to burn them. And then they beat up the demons with the charms and also burned them. As soon as they were gone, the king's son fully recovered, and he offered the fortune teller anything as a reward. I'd like some yak nose rings." "Really? That's what you're asking for?" "Yes." "Okay, you heard him. Get the man all the nose rings." So the fortune teller came home with 100 rings and 7 yaks packed with all sorts of food. His wife was not happy. "Really, that's the best you can do after fighting all those demons who've been plaguing the kingdom for the last 7-ish years?" "Need sleep. Don't really care." And the fortune teller went to bed. His wife rolled her eyes and wrote a letter basically saying, "Hi, sorry to bother you. So my husband forgot it, but the disease will come back unless you give us something a little bit more than this." And the prince agreed with this and came to the fortune teller's house and offered him a title as a prince. The fortune teller side-eyed his wife. She shrugged. "Hey, it's gotten us this far." And that should be it for today. Next video should be Mermaid. I've been writing out the script for that, and that's been coming along pretty well. I'll see you when I see you. Bye! And so the fortune teller came home with 100 nose rings.